Good morning, welcome back. We'll start with understanding the third chapter of Module 1 of Ethics and the Media was associated with corporate communication. Now what exactly is ethics? Ethics basically are principles that govern whether somebody's behavior is right or wrong, right? So when we talk of ethics in association with business, it turns out to be business ethics. And every company follows a certain stringent method or a certain approach to understand as to whether the behavior of it with its various stakeholders is positive, negative, whether it's good or bad. So we quickly understand as to what are the two approaches for business ethics. One of it being the shareholder approach and the second one being the stakeholder approach. Now again the two terms stakeholder and shareholder, but let's put it in a simpler parameter. All those people investing money within your organization fall a parameter of your shareholder. Right? So the ones who buy shares for your company are your shareholders. So is your company only working for the shareholders? If yes, then your company or your organization is following the shareholder approach. And when we talk of stakeholder approach, we come to a very lucrative or a very utmost important terminology, which is a corporate social responsibility. This CSR that most organizations follow and which according to law has also been made essential for a certain company having a turnover of X amount needs to contribute 2% of its net profit earning for the CSR. Now what is CSR? It is basically making sure that whatever you've taken from the resources, all the resources from the environment, you're giving something back of it. Okay? So doing something good for the surroundings about your environment fall a part and parcel of your corporate social responsibility. Ideally, it's taken to be a very ethical parameter. Most organizations involve themselves with the whole concept of corporate social responsibility. So that is understanding as to what business approach is, business ethics is, and the approaches it follows. The stakeholder approach, which is restricted, priorities only the shareholders, and the stakeholders approach, which deals with the corporate social responsibility parameters. So it's serving all the stakeholders. It's giving back to the customer, to the consumer, to the government, to the environment by and large, to its suppliers, to its employees, to its owners, to its management. So that is the stakeholder versus shareholder approach that one follows with regards to business ethics. In continuation with ethics or business ethics, there are certain principles or guidelines stated by the International Association of Business Communication and Public Relations of America, which states that these 5 guiding principles should be there for any public spokesperson of the organization. And what are these 5 guiding principles? Honesty, confidentiality, credit, free speech, and courtesy. Now, we'll take each of it and understand it in detail. When I say that they have to be honest in nature, it means that all the information that has to be given out to the public. For example, they have a press conference and they are disclosing a certain set of information. That has to be accurate and true in nature. They cannot, give trap and give something to the audience, or they can play around with certain figures and give to the audience, right? So they have to be honest in all their communications, candid, open, frank, and let the true things be reciprocated to all your stakeholders. If you're not doing well and your shareholders are asking you for your financial statements, you don't play around with these statements. You tell them the fact and figure, okay, because of so and so, we couldn't do a good business and we having a certain profit or we having a certain loss. Then we move to credibility. Confidentiality. Now what is confidentiality? protecting the privacy of people who probably have given you some information, or probably about your employees working in your organization. Somebody has been a whistleblower within your organization. Now, what is the whole concept of whistleblowing? Whistleblowing is when some insider lets the government or the police know that something is going wrong with the organization. So he lets out that some sort of funds are being embezzled, or some sort of documents are being changed. The whole concept of Satyam scam, having Mehta's at one opposite company, right? So when somebody is being a whistleblower, you give them all the confidentiality. You don't disclose the name, so that the life of that person is protected, is safe, and no harm can come to the person who's giving you that sort of information. So confidentiality is the second. Then we move to the third thing, that is credit. Now credit means when somebody is giving you a certain content or certain information, you give them due credit for it. So if you stated a certain fact or figure and you've taken it from Forbes magazine, the topmost magazine read worldwide, what you do is you make a mention of it that this particular information is taken from the Forbes magazine. Or another example could be, after every movie, you see the end rolls, the names of all the people who are associated with making that movie. Is it just the actor, the actress, the director, the producer who's come together and make this film? No. Somebody who's probably even worked for a minute, not a significant role, but probably for a minute, you give credits to all these people. So you let the world know that these are the people because of whom I have been able to do this, that or a certain thing that was demonstrated in front of you. So with credits, you can always remember the roles that flow once a movie gets over. Then the fourth parameter is free speech, allowing the person to be very frank, opinionated in terms of expressing his or her idea. You cannot say that tum yehi bolo, tum wo hi bolo. So it goes in connection with the first one. You can be honest when you are allowed to be free in terms of your talking. If I have to think 10 times and talk, firstly I'll not be confident, means I'll always give out false information maybe, because I have to camouflage myself. So always give them the right, or let them be a free speech concept. So honesty will definitely follow. And last but not the least, the courtesy aspect. Now what is being courteous? Not making mockery of things that probably could be deteriorative in nature. Say for example, having gender discrimination jokes, or laughing somebody because of disability. So these 5 principles quickly: honesty, credibility, the confidentiality, credit, your courtesy, and your free speech. So we move to understanding mass media laws that basically are a shield for organizations in case they need to safeguard in terms of its interest. So what are these 5 major mass media laws that we need to understand? First is defamation. Second, invasion of privacy. Third, Copyright Act. Fourth, digital piracy. And fifth, and the most important, is the RTI Act, Right to Information Act. So we'll understand each of it in 5 different parameters, or each of it with 5 different examples. Now we'll start with understanding what is defamation. Like say for example, I have passed a statement about Mr. X in my organization that he's got a promotion all because he was sputtering the boss constantly. We should take him out for dinner, and he used to give him expensive gifts and all. And hence he's got this promotion. He really didn't deserve it. So what have I done? I have become, firstly, as in terms of the law aspects, I am the defendant. I have passed a certain statement about Mr. X. He's a plaintiff. Okay, what is the meaning of plaintiff? Somebody who is a private figure or a public figure about whom or about which I have passed a certain statement. Right? So as a defendant, I have passed a statement for Mr. X plaintiff, and I have damaged his reputation. So say for example, now when he or she goes into the cafeteria, people are giggling, "Arey, usko promotion aise hi mili hai yaar, he didn't deserve it." In reality, we do not know whether that's true or false. In reality, probably he's really worked hard and he's got the promotion, or could be a passing statement that I have made. But do I have any proof for it? No. but I've still passed a certain statement for that person. And what have I done? I've harmed his reputation. So that fact that I have got a promotion has now turned into be, अरे तेरे पे तो favor किया गया था. So I've damaged his reputation. I've damaged his personality in front of a lot of people. It means that he can file a defamation suit against me. He can sue me that तुमने मेरी personality पे, तुमने मेरे character assassin किया है. You damaged my character. I have really worked hard for this promotion, and you just made a passing statement and made a mockery of the whole thing that I've just got a promotion for the heck of getting it, or because I was buttoning the boss. So this whole concept is the parameter of understanding what is defamation. Now this defamation happens in two parameters by a defendant. I can probably say it out loud, which becomes slander. Okay, slander. Slander. Slander is when I have said something about somebody and harmed the reputation of the person. And the second kind could be libel. libel, which is written. I must have written something. Say for example, office party and we're playing some games and I've written a statement. This person got this because of this. वहाँ पे it will become anonymous because पता नहीं चलेगा कि मैंने ये पास किया है judgment या मैंने ऐसे बोला है, but I have harmed somebody's image. So when you have harmed somebody's reputation in the written parameter, it becomes libel. So always remember libel, written, LW. And slander is spoken, easy to understand, S and S. So when you say something about somebody and you defame him, it becomes slander defamation. If you write something about something and defame him, his personality or her personality, it becomes libel defamation. And the plaintiff can definitely file a case against you. So section 499 of Indian Penal Code gives you that allowance to file a case against the one who has damaged your reputation, and a proper procedure can be followed based on what is given in section 499. So defamation, two parameters, libel or slander. Libel is written defamation, slander is spoken defamation. Alright, now we'll understand the second parameter or the second concept, which is our invasion of privacy. Understand the second parameter, which is invasion of privacy. Now what is the meaning of these two words, invasion and privacy? Privacy is anything which is personal, which is private to an individual or to an organization. So when somebody is invading through it, is trying to get inside it, there are four parameters under which one can file a suit. So when we talk of the parameter of defendant and plaintiff, defendant means somebody who is damaging the reputation or trying to get on to these facts and figures becomes defendant, and plaintiff is जिसके बारे में we are finding information, जिसके बारे में you are passing these statements becomes your plaintiff. Okay. So what happens with invasion of privacy under appropriation of likeliness or nameness? Okay. Now what is the parameter of appropriation of name or likeliness? When we understand the example of Nike and its logo, that is swoosh. Now if you know the original logo of swoosh, it has a certain way, it's fatter on a certain side and then it becomes thin. And what is the tagline for it? Just do it. So if somebody copies that, makes a swoosh, thoda variation that overall it's fat maybe, and to the tagline it just writes, just do it now. Okay. So what has it done? It's taken in the identity or it's taken into the private logo that Nike has and made a duplicate copy of it. So what you have done is you've used the name, you've used the logo, you've used the tagline with a certain variation and you're selling it in the market, telling people get a Nike original. So Nike can definitely file a complaint against whichever company or whichever individual has done this or is selling such kind of products to the market, stating that this is invasion of privacy under appropriation of name or likeness. Then we move to understand the second parameter as to what can be. So that is intrusion upon seclusion. Alright. So what is intrusion upon seclusion is when, say for example, I have taken off a personal leave and I am on a vacation somewhere. Right? And somebody says that अरे ये तो rehab center में गया है या rehab center में गई है क्योंकि too much of drugs overdose हो गया, something like that, and tries to invade my privacy. Or probably if I'm holidaying somewhere where I don't want the public to know. So this basically works with celebrities. They are on holidays, they check into a certain hotels, and these photographers, these media people, they go around clicking them. So they may probably be having a chill out time near the swimming pool and photos taken such that ऐसा हो रहा and they're still having a bath, blah 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 blah. So that can fall under the parameter of invasion of privacy. Taking pictures, peeping into somebody's window, trying to find out information and damaging the reputation of a person is a parameter of invasion of privacy, where somebody is on a seclusion. The person has said कि मुझे अकेले में रहना है, तो भी तो उसके अंदर जाके try करते हो find out करने के लिए कि what is happening. So under that also I can file a suit against somebody trying to damage the reputation of me as a public celebrity or about an organization as to what is it doing behind closed doors. Then we understand the third concept, which is the false light concept. Now what is a false light concept? Similar to what we spoke in defamation, when I'm saying that Mr. X got a promotion because of the fact that he's buttering the boss a lot. So I am giving a false light on something which is not at all true, and I'm trying to invade into that person's privacy. उसको ये promotion कैसे मिला? That should be between the boss, the management, and the person who's got a promotion, right? But what have I done? I have gone and make a mockery of it. So that is the third parameter of understanding false light and invasion of privacy.